Okay. I want to welcome everyone to the podcast, but I also want to ask each of you and everyone in the comments silently say this if you're watching this. And if you're an audio person, you couldn't understand what I'm doing right now. What do you think I'm doing?
You look like you're about to become some kind of a weird mid-tier superhero.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, or, and hear me out on this, and this might sound crazy, you secretly want ham hocks.
Ham hocks? What the frick is ham hocks?
You never heard of ham hocks?
No.
It's like when you get nothing but hair on the sides. Like right here.
It's kind of cool.
And you have no hair down here. It's just right here.
Well, what I'm doing is I'm cosplaying as a solar eclipse viewer, which I wish you were if you were where we are, but you may not have been. We are the DweeBros Podcast, and we are going to tell you about the events of April. Like an old tale of time. We're going to talk video games and movies and music, and tell you about an event that was, dare I say, life-changing.
So we're going to talk about the eclipse.
Yes.
Okay. Can I drop an eclipse hot take?
Okay,
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And Jacob, you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
I
Must
saw
be
the
about
eclipse I saw the eclipse in totality. It was
Okay.
amazing. But talking to people about the eclipse and showing people pictures that you took of the eclipse is like showing them your fantasy draft. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares.
I would agree with that.
And I would
I
also
do,
add that people who have seen totality understand it's amazing, don't need anybody to tell them, and people who haven't seen it still think that it's probably not worth it. So it's a losing game talking about seeing
You're
totality.
not convincing anyone.
Yeah, you're not convincing anyone because people who haven't seen it are like, I kind of saw it. They didn't see it. I know that now. But I was a person in 2017 that saw mostly closed and was like, okay, I saw it. It was crazy. So before we dive into this, I just had to drop that hot take that
Okay.
I recognize that, number one, the rate that the world spins and people move on, the eclipse is like, it might as well have been 2020 that the eclipse happened. But
All right.
if we're going to talk eclipse, though,
Another hot
the
take.
onus is on you to make this worth talking about.
Okay, another hot take. It was awesome. It was the best. If you thought it was bad, you're bad.
Take this man's soundboard away.
And guess what? I'm going to tell you what we did. So here's the thing.
I sure
into-
hope that is balanced well with the voices. We're going to find out.
Okay, oops, I accidentally clicked on you. Okay, so I had a plan going into Eclipse, Totality.
Total tality.
Totality is the sequel. So we live in the Cincinnati region. Oh, we are in that strip. So I had my cameras ready. Now, here was my rule. I'm with you, Travis. I had the same thing going in this. It's like my picture or whatever, is that going to be special? I had the camera ready. I had the solar eclipse taped to it, like the lens, so it wouldn't burn out the lens. I had all that stuff, but I had another camera for me and my wife to like get our reactions to seeing this thing because it's so ungodly rare for it to be in this area. You know what I mean? Like, this is cool. We got in our backyard and seeing it. That is
it was
unbelievable.
absolutely amazing. It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And I knew it was going to be cool. People said it was going to be cool. It's like, because I was for the partial eclipse 2017. It was like, okay, let's see what total does. Did not disappoint.
No.
But here's the funny thing. So I put the camera up, and as that was going up, because it's weird, you have to take off the glasses, right?
I was so second guessing myself because they were like, now's the part where you can look at it with nothing. And I was like, wait, are you sure? Like, I spent the first minute like, wait, can I do this?
and my plan was like, keep looking at it, and then once it goes completely black on those glasses, rip them off. And I did that with the camera too, and tried to get whatever going. But I had that camera like facing me and my wife. And as that went, like, we only had 1 minute 40 seconds. That's it. Like, we didn't have that much time where we were at. Some places got 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. You can mess around a little bit with that.
Mhm.
But I took the glasses off and started getting it, and I didn't get it on that camera because like immediately I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. And I only have a minute 40. So I took it off and I looked around, I looked up there, and like I missed it on my camera. But the thing is, I was like, someone's gonna get a better picture than me and a better video of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a gajillion. Like NASA has something that looks like it's from Mass Effect.
It blew my
picture.
pants off, dude, because it got nighttime dark. And the sun moon thing, it was like a glowing halo. Like I understand. I know I've seen people say like I know why people were sacrificing, kids
I get
and
it
stuff
now,
back in the day. Like they were like,
did.
what? They're like, what is going on? This is the end of the world. It was crazy.
I almost took my consoles and just broke them in sacrifice. But
to be able to sit in my front yard, you in your yard, and like watch that, like with my wife was crazy.
I started also howling. There was people around us to go and hoot and hollering, and I just started howling when that happened because it just wanted to make me want to turn into a wolf.
I looked at this. So when the eclipse happened, I forgot it was happening. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I forgot it was happening.
We have a Venn diagram or just
two. I was golfing. I was on the golf course.
Oh, that's kind of crazy. Did you make a hole in one during the
No,
eclipse?
I hit the ball. I was like, why is it getting so dang dark? And then my friend Zach, another Zach, he's like, wait, isn't the stupid eclipse happening today? And I was like, oh dude, it's happening today. So I was like, I can't see the golf ball. I can't hit this is stupid. So to me, I looked at the eclipse and it was like it's just a giant fart. Like it just wasn't at all like worth my time. I really had to and honestly, for a solid 3 minutes, I was like, this is like, but it's just dark, and now I can't do what I want to do. So I don't know. I have a different take.
I'm so glad.
Did you see the totality?
Yeah, I did.
Are you positive? Hold on.
Brother, I had no glasses the entire time.
Wait, what do you mean?
No wonder he gets.
Can you see me
right now?
We were out. I forgot it happened. Like I was at least
back up. Was there a point where it became pitch black and it was like perfect totality where you were?
Oh yeah, you're talking like you only saw like the lights in the buildings and that was it. Like it was dark.
No, I'm talking about the actual ring.
The sun.
You saw the ring. Yeah, where they were on top of each other completely.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I was out in what golf course?
You weren't looking at it without glasses before that, were you?
Yeah, I was. I was like, I was confused on what was going on. I didn't know what was happening.
Okay.
So
wow.
My dog is currently trying to break into my room, and it is absolutely hilarious.
He's probably heard what you were saying about the eclipse, ready to throw hands, throw paws.
Jacob, that is the perfect Jacob eclipse story, is that you're out golfing and you're just angry that it's
angry that it messed up your
thing.
See.
It ruined my entire time.
Can I end my take? My take was, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life. It just looking around at the world like that and being able to see the sun, and like also did you see all the red around it? And later I found out what that was.
Like gases coming off.
Yeah, it was solar flares. Because I'm looking at it, I'm like, am I supposed to be looking at it? I actually like put up the thing because I was like, am I burning my eye sockets out? But
it looked like something out of Star Wars. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. So one of the coolest experiences of my life. I get why people drive around. I think I'm going to drive around. There's one in 2044 or something that's like coming up through most of the United States. I'm going to travel to that one.
I don't even know where I'll be in 2044. So yeah, maybe.
Bro, yeah. You have fun with that. Plan that one out.
Well, what I'll say is no matter where you go, sitting in your yard and watching it is just like unbelievable. That was the coolest thing. You don't have to fight with the crowd and figure out where you're going to go to the bathroom and like all this crazy stuff. People are just like driving off the highway and trying to find a place where they'll be in the spot. Yeah, no, I all of that preamble said, it was amazing. I'm 100% with you. 100% worth seeing it. I just feel like I have to acknowledge that 98% of people are going to watch you say, I'm sure it's not that good, because they've not seen it. But, it's just that's the reality.
Let me say it another way. I've seen one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life was the Grand Canyon. This was second to the Grand Canyon, I think.
This might have been the best.
It's in that realm of just like, I don't know how to explain it. Like I really, if you're not in
natural
totality,
wonder.
If you're not into, yes, if you're not in totality, I get why it's like,
No.
okay, it's kind of got a dark, but totality is like something like
I
it makes you
yeah.
just think how small you are. Everyone was looking at the same thing. That was
Yeah.
maybe another part of it too. And me and my wife, and we're all staring at this thing. It's like, it's kind of cool, but
I think
Yeah.
I've seen steaks better than that eclipse.
another take.
literally-
I don't
little
think you,
pieces of meat.
Jacob. Hot take. Where were you golfing?
The hot take, Pebble Creek.
Was that in Fairfield?
Outside
I
of it,
guess
yeah.
You
But it
weren't
was in total. I
weren't.
homie.
Oh, you
you
weren't in
weren't.
totality.
You
Hold on,
weren't.
brother. Look,
weren't.
pressure makes diamonds. I want you to understand something. I was, and two, because I looked it up, and two, like I said, it was cool. Like, okay, there's your cookie, but like at the end of the day, it wasn't what I felt it
You
needed
can watch
to be.
it. You give it a you should watch it. Is what
You should
should
watch
watch
it.
it.
The problem
Watch
is like it was like it happened and that's cool and all, but like I could get on YouTube and watch it happen 9 million other times. Like
Is there
it just,
okay? Let me ask a question. Is there anything that all three of us love? Because I feel like even when two of us are like, "Man, that was awesome," there's always one dissenter.
Yeah, that's a good question.
There's
Is
not
there
been
something-
anything that all three of us are like, "That is amazing." Breath
I'm
of the
trying to think
Wild,
of-
you didn't like.
I was gonna say Breath of
No,
the Wild, but Jacob's
no.
out on that.
no, I'm out on that. I did not.
I was
love
gonna
that
say
game.
Last of Us Part 1, but you don't. You're kind of more partial to 2.
What about Lost? You like Lost?
I love Lost.
Okay,
It's
got-
Lost.
It's
Okay.
Lost, and you know what?
Lost.
Lost is the best. I've been. We're not jumping into TV, but I just want to say we're watching Lost right now. We're like most of the way through season 2. That show.
No,
is
you
just
should. I think this is
incredible.
This is the
Yeah.
best
Well,
transition. It connected us.
I guess it is a good transition. Yeah, Lost is. I mean, I knew it was great, and I watched it when I was in high school and middle school. I guess.
And
it
this
was
is
high
your
school.
second time through.
This is my third time through.
Okay.
I think.
Third.
Well, it's hard to say. I watched those first 3 seasons on DVD, then I watched the rest live. But when I was waiting in between seasons for like seasons 5 and 6, I think I watched back through it with my brother
Okay.
at that time. So it feels like the second time, but some of the first couple seasons I've seen a couple times. So
Okay.
whatever, it's my second full run through, I would say. But yeah, we're most of the way through season 2. And I think thinking back on it, I knew that season 2 was kind of special because it brings in more of the others, and it brings in the others are more of a presence than they are in the first season, and it brings in the people from the other end of the island or the other tail section. I think I forgot how big of a shift season 2 is from season 1 in terms of the impact of the facilities that they start spending time in, like the hatch.
Yeah.
And there's multiple facilities. There's like a medical facility. There's a facility that the tail section people are in. And I think I forgot about that because in season 1, everything is so visceral. Like, this person's dying. Can we find their asthma medicine? This person is dying. Can we fix their leg? Like, this,
It's about survival. That first
it's
season.
about
The second season, they're
survival.
exploring.
The second season they're exploring, but it's also funny watching it. Like, John Locke in season 1 is the ultimate survivalist man. And you get into season 2 and he is like living in an underground apartment, and he's like a slave to that button in a way that when I was younger, because I blitzed all the way through them, and it all blew together to me. But they just do interesting things where they take characters in one season where they're one way, and then even for it all being on one island, they put them in a new environment a lot. And so like season 1, like Jack and Locke are like kind of rival-ish leaders, but they don't really interact a lot. And then season 2, they're interacting constantly, and they bicker like a married couple stuck in like a bunker together because they are always in the hatch together. And we're in that part where they've discovered who you find out eventually is Benjamin Linus, and who is just that show is just stacked top to bottom with great characters. But his character is really kind of cold and chilling, and I kind of remembered how they introduce him, and there's kind of a hostage thing, and but I just would say, I think month to month here, we're churning through about a season a month. I'm going to be talking about Lost as we go forward. Season 2 is great. And I would say if you have not watched Lost, I'm begging you to watch it.
It's the only thing us 3 agree on.
Yeah, it is honestly a really great endorsement. And I will tell you this, that Lost is one of those shows where like I would show people it, and they would watch episodes and they'd pick it up right away and talk about it later. I very rarely have ever met someone say, I started Lost and I didn't finish Lost. Whether they liked it or not in the end, that's another conversation. But I've never introduced that show to somebody and them not finish the show.
You like the ending of Lost, right, Jacob?
Yeah, I like it. It makes sense to
God.
me. Like I'm not a hater. It makes sense to me.
That's what
we're all on the same page.
We're all.
linked.
I was worried for a second.
We're synergized.
I was worried you were gonna say I didn't like the ending because then I'd have been like, no, we don't have. Okay, we're all excited.
like
Okay,
it.
so the perfect 3 DweeBros eclipse. All 3 of us lined up and
We did. That was
Totality.
the eclipse.
Okay.
Totality.
That said, something
But
else.
you know what? There was something cooler actually in the eclipse.
What was cool?
I can play Pokemon on my iPhone now.
Oh, okay.
That is actually
that is a
so.
thing now.
I don't know how like you guys reacted to when this information came out.
What was
but
the information?
literally-
Because I'm still not fully up to
So-
speed of what changed.
iOS has never, ever, 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 ever allowed an emulator on their app store. If there was ever one to come out on it, it would get pulled down immediately.
Yeah.
This is for the first time a long-standing. This is actually, I think, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. This is probably the longest an emulator has sat on the actual Apple App Store.
Yes. Every time before it was kind of snuck in there, and it's like, oh, download this calculator app. It's hidden in there, or some other stuff. But this is, to me, as someone who got the iPhone right when it came out, this is unbelievable. And some people were like, "Oh, I've had it on my Android for 15 years." Yeah, you have, but like for Apple and their draconian grip on the walled garden that is iOS, this is pretty unbelievable, and it's exciting. It's cool to have that. But I've just been still cracking up that this happened. But people were saying all this is like kind of connected with the European Union is like kind of taking them to court and all this stuff with like antitrust stuff. They had to open up the app store there to where third-party app stores, only in Europe. They only did it for Europe, not us. But they opened up the app store there in Europe, which is also equally crazy for Apple. But yeah, it's weird. It's a weird time. I've got the DS stuff on there. I've got Super Nintendo. I've been playing quite a couple games on there because I have the Backbone controller.
Not only that, it has
there.
Bluetooth support. You can cast it to your TV.
Yes, you can cast your TV.
Which, like, like that's stupid. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's awesome.
it's awesome. It's so cool.
And I know there was a way before even like to sneak in there, and I think even now you can like download stuff to get it working. But I think our friend Devin said in the group chat, he was like, "Yeah, you had to go in and like change the internal clock stuff to make it work every time you wanted to play." Like, I'm not gonna do all that. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be able to boot in and have all my stuff and not have to worry about like, oh, they shut this down, it doesn't work anymore. You know, I'm not doing all that. But
yeah,
I've been having a blast. But also like, it feels like cosmic karma for shutting down Yuzu. From the last podcast, they shut down Yuzu, and I saw this and cracked up because it was like it's at the top of the charts.
Oh
on
yeah,
the App Store. All 1 billion people are downloading this thing, and it's like, you dummies. This is what you get. So I do not feel sorry for Nintendo. Nintendo to me is the biggest enemy in gaming. I love them.
Do you think
I
Nintendo?
put them as the worst. And
Now I'm
thank
trying
you.
to think through this.
Thank
So
you, Apple.
Apple approved this
Yes.
and put it out there, and then Nintendo says we want. Do they issue a cease and desist to Apple?
I don't think they can because the emulation is not the problem. Now, they did say, I think they are kind of walking on eggshells a little bit, Apple is, because they're like, and there has to be a retro emulator. So, like, you won't be able to get a Switch emulation on your iPhone.
But how are they defining retro? Number
Good
one,
question.
And number two, modern emulation is just as legal as retro emulation.
Good question. I think because they got to see what happened to Yuzu, Apple's like, well, we don't want to get too much in that. But I don't know why they opened themselves up to that. I think it has to do with that antitrust stuff.
I think that their hands being forced, they're fighting a war on multiple fronts with this Epic stuff.
Yeah. So it's very weird, and this opens up a lot of possibilities.
I love it. I text a bunch of group people, my friends. I said, guys, I don't know this is going to last long, but this is your chance. Snag it. And they all snagged it. I've had people text me, tell me they're playing the Pokemon ROM hacks now.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. To me,
That's the best emulation game on a touchscreen, because
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about like your button placements, because that's the problem. They have like vibrations when you touch the digital
Yeah.
buttons, but that sucks for anything not Pokemon or not strategy wise. For me,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
those
No,
are perfect for that. I've been
I'm with
playing
you.
some hard Soul Silver, which I've never played, so I'm working my way through that when I have a chance. But
Just love the fact that, like I said, these games they get to stay in rotation. Like they don't go away. These are games that like you're forever gonna have access to, and we know we can get them whenever we want them.
And
You
I'm
know
laughing
what's- you
because
know what-
Nintendo could
oh.
have done this.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was just gonna
You
say
know
Nintendo could have done this.
You know what won't stay in rotation?
Yeah.
Little Big Planet 3, The Crew, and Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiple games in the last month, more games getting shut down.
Yeah.
Ubisoft has been actually doing this to a few games, and these are not super old games. I mean, Little Big Planet 3 that's a PS4 game, correct?
Yeah.
And so that just makes you think, man, Dreams. I mean, some of these games, especially where you make user content or you build your island in Animal Crossing, and it's sad. It's really sad to see this becoming more and more prevalent. I've actually been seeing like there's groups that are trying to formally get together, and I think people complain about it on the internet, but I don't have the Reddit name I should have wrote it in the notes, but there's a Reddit group I saw that's actually trying to get legislation behind some of these things. I don't know how much you can really affect with that kind of thing, because ultimately the companies decide if they're going to maintain servers or not. It's just kind of a sad reality of modern online heavy games that this stuff's just not going to exist. So I'm just kind of curious your guys' thought about that. Has there been a game that's gotten erased that really bums you out? I don't think you guys really care about The Crew, but I think it's the principle of the matter. It's kind of like when we were talking about. It's kind of like when we were talking about Dragons. And I will say, from a game preservation standpoint, I don't want to see any game get erased. I think that every game's a miracle that it gets made, and you never know what game's going to have life later on emulation platforms and stuff. I mean, the ones that always hit the hardest to me was Destiny 2. I put, God knows, thousands of hours into that game, and probably the first 3 to now 4 years of content of that game do not exist anymore. Like, there's planets you can't even go to, and like campaigns that are gone, and that's one that bums me out a lot. But I didn't know
Mario
what
Maker recently closed down as well. Mario Maker's done so.
That's the first Mario Maker's done.
Yeah,
so the levels are gone.
The levels are gone. Everything.
I just bought Mario Maker.
That was
too.
kind of a cool aside. I was kind of following because Mario Maker, they were trying to do 100% completion, meaning they beat every single level that users had uploaded. Like every level had been beaten.
Oh my gosh!
And they took down to the wire. There was one that only took and the only way you could upload is you beat your own level. So there was one. It's called like Trim the Hedges. That's what it was. And it only takes 15 seconds. It's like like these very minuscule movements you have to do, like through all these like blades or whatever. And it took down to the wire for a team of like everybody that's played Mario Maker trying to beat that, and finally one person finally did. Oh my gosh,
that's so intense.
And they were asking, was like, well, the game updated. I bet he was able to exploit something, but they whatever version or code that's uploaded in is what loads when you go in there. So there's no way you can like say, oh, this was cheated or whatever. But they finally did it. But that was kind of crazy. They were like going down the level, like, okay, there's 4 left. That's really hard, and they finally got all of them beaten before they took off.
Sad. Like, and that's crazy. Like a mainline. I guess it's a spinoff, but like a Mario game. Is now inaccessible. That's kind of weird. Nintendo, I would have assumed they would maintain their servers longer, but between that and Animal Crossing, it sounds like they don't give a damn. Like they'll shut this crap down once it's 5 years
my
old.
only problem with this stuff is that when it shuts down, games that have like a multiplayer, like a racing or a first-person shooter, like there's got to be a way to make a peer-to-peer, like I can link up with your console and all of us like link up online, and we don't need a server.
I think the issue is
emulation.
Well, yes. I don't think they want those games to stay around, though.
I guess.
They want people to move on to their newer platforms.
That's true, too.
And that's the business model.
The stakeholder value,
you're right.
I forgot.
That's what they perceive it to be. Like, I get what you're saying, Jacob, but most people do move on. They don't have to, basically cut out the ground from behind us. I mean, people that want to play new games are going to buy the new games.
I agree with you.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm out of touch.
No.
Travis, think of the stakeholders. You're not thinking of the stakeholders.
You're right. I'm
That's
not.
funny.
I'm thinking about me, who's the consumer. So
No, I'm
Yeah.
the same way. I'm the type of person like I have the PC versions of all the old CODs, and I can jump in because after they shut down the servers, like the managed servers through Activision, they open it up to peer to peer, but it's
Yeah.
only on the PC versions. If you go to console and you try to play your old versions of COD, they
Yeah.
have access to your IP address and everything. They can get into your network structure. Like people are hacking that stuff. Like Activision came out and said, do not play any game that was made on Xbox 360 gen and down right now. Do not touch them. The servers are not live. There's no real servers. Do not touch those games. But that's the problem. Is like those games are now gone. They're forever untouched. They're forever, and it brings up the conversation of like, okay, do you ever really own these games? Like when you buy them, and they just decide to pull the market, you bought an experience. You didn't buy the game. You didn't buy the media. You bought an experience.
Yeah.
It's everything is temporary in the grand scheme of things, but it's extremely more temporary than we were maybe led to believe when we're kids and we're buying a game and it's on the shelf and you have it. It's just extremely temporary.
It was new. I think that's the issue. This is new. You gotta remember, we were the guinea pigs for online gaming, kind of like the true jump into like consistent online gaming. I know that existed back in like the Dreamcast was trying to do network connections and all that stuff, whatever. Us three right here, we experienced what it was truly like to do matchmaking online with large parties and different things like that, and it'd be seamless.
Yeah. Well, you know what might have sold better if they deleted the old game is Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get into this. Let's get into the weeds.
So
I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question about this.
Okay. Can I just say the news?
Oh yeah, sorry.
The
go ahead,
news
drop it.
is, and then I know you want to talk about Final Fantasy Rebirth. So like the game's great from all that I'm hearing, right? So this isn't really about that, but it came out this past week. Daniel Ahmed, I don't know his name. He's famous on Twitter. He talks about sales because nobody releases their sales numbers unless the sales numbers are good. So you only ever find out when it's good. Well, Square, normally people look back historically, 1 month out, they almost always say, hey, we crossed 2 million units, whatever. Well, they've not said anything about Rebirth since it came out. And the inclination is, well, maybe it didn't do too great. Well, then some of these sales people that specialize in this on Twitter are like, yeah, it really did underperform. It's 34% down from where Remake was at this time in its life. And people were kind of going all over Twitter and talking about this and that. And as you can imagine, people get really immature because it's only on PlayStation. So Xbox fans are like, well, it's because it's not good. And it's like, whatever. Yeah. But really, the IGN kind of put together an article where they're like, well, we kind of looked around at what some of the reasons could be. I mean, they're not mind-blowing reasons, but the top things identified are PS5 install base, and it is an exclusive game, so that does have an impact. And I do want to pull up sometime the actual install base of where we're at PS5 wise. It definitely is way behind where the PS4 was when Remake came out.
For sure.
Very behind. Number two, $70 game fatigue with $80 and $90 and $100 crap on top of that for like day access pass I saw someone call it a cost of living crisis, which is actually is what we're going through, where people like they can afford things, but like you're having to make more and more decisions. And a lot of people are saying, hey, I'll just wait till that's $48 in 3 months on the PlayStation Store. And then another one, and I think this could very much be it, name confusion. This game, Rebirth, is following up after Final Fantasy Remake 4 years ago, Final Fantasy Intermission, Final Fantasy Intergrade, and Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion, all in the last 4 years. And I think that we may be seeing diminishing returns on this new Final Fantasy VII, what do they call it, anthology?
Yeah.
They've released a lot of things under the Final Fantasy VII name. And I think most people like you and us who pay attention to Final Fantasy are like aware this is a new game. I'm not saying that, but like the casual audience maybe did not get that news. So
I'm going to go point by point.
Yeah.
Again, I don't care about the sales. I'm not like
the only thing I was going to say is you may want to care about the sales because it may impact how much effort they put into Part 3.
Sure, but I have a caveat or a question for you. I saw this thread, but I was seeing some other stuff before that. People were like, "Oh, this is not selling good," when it was the first week or second week or something. And what a lot of people were saying was, if you look at those numbers, they're reporting the physical sales, and those digital sales weren't in there. I don't know if that's true or not. Is that true?
That's true. So of every game, they take the physical sale number, and they have a formula to project the digital sale attach rate off of that, and they use an estimate. It's like the polls. Remember our infamous argument about the polls? These guys, they are aware that most people are buying digital.
Yeah.
So they have a formula where they apply to the physical sold rate to get a sense of what the overall sale is.
That sales for all Square games they were showing were diminishing, and people were like, "Oh, that's because every single year, if you go back 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you're seeing this physical sale. You're seeing the sales go down because we're losing the access to the actual online." That digital has like skyrocketed versus physical.
But that's true of all the other games that are blowing sales records out of the water.
Yeah.
Where all we have access to outside of Steam is physical numbers. So like they'll take the physical number in the UK, which they have generally can get. I'm kind of out of my element here, but they'll take the physical numbers in the UK, which they generally can get, and then they have ways of cross-referencing it with other data pools and creating an estimate sale. But the smoking gun is they even came out after Final Fantasy 16, which did not sell well, and said, "Hey, we sold 2 million units." They have not even done that for this. So
that makes sense.
There's pretty good circumstantial evidence it hasn't sold well.
PS5 install base. I agree with that. That's probably an issue too. It was hard to get them. COVID happened. All that stuff. Boom. $70. Yeah, I think that's another thing. But the one that cracks me up the most, the naming confusion. These are the same people that named Kingdom Hearts 1.5, Kingdom Hearts 2.5, Kingdom Hearts 2.8. This is par for the course for a Square Enix fan like me. These people do not know how to name anything. So when I saw Rebirth, I think Rebirth is a step up from what I'm used to with these stupid Final Fantasy X-2.
I think it's a good name.
Classic.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a good name, but like if we really think about it, they should have called it Remake Part 2.
But how many people are sitting there saying, "Well, I played Remake and I liked it, but then there was Interbomb or whatever, and then there was Reunion. I never played that. I don't know. I'm kind of behind. I'm gonna go play whatever the hell just came out."
Yeah, it's classic. One. It's classic Square Enix, and maybe they can't afford to make those mistakes that they made. Not mistakes, but weird goofo decisions that they made in the PS2, PS3 era.
Well, I think
people are maybe over that partially too, or confused.
I think we're underestimating the bigger elephant in the room is that the exclusivity is the fact that that's what's killing them. I think the PC version is something that people are waiting on.
Yeah,
because
maybe so.
They played 7 on the PC and was like, "Oh, this was actually a lot better of an experience."
Yeah.
Well,
and I'm actually one of those people sitting in that boat. I'm not going to play Rebirth. I'm not touching that game until it comes to PC. I played the first one on PlayStation and it was fine. No, I want to play that game on PC.
So you're saying not that they played the first one on PC only. You're saying that there were people that played the first one on PS4, then got it again on PC and liked it more on PC, and then they're
either
waiting.
that or
because
they played on PS4 not knowing a port was coming on PC.
Okay.
So basically they're saying like, "Oh, I thought I could only play this on Sony," and then you dumped it on PC. Now I'm waiting now because I don't have to play this right away.
They did know when it came out. They did know that it would be a year from the PS4 release date.
They did.
Remake. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going against it. Yeah, the $70 stuff. I think people. I mean, we'll talk about it later. But that Stellar Blade, I played the demo. I'm looking at the $70 price tag. I'm like, I'm just not gonna do that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say no. Fun little experience. I'm gonna say no.
They picked the
and
wrong
maybe
time
some people want to do that for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth too, and I get that. I'm very choosy, and I think more people will choose you too. Now, for me, I was gonna get that day one. Got the collector's butt out. I probably keeping the whole sales afloat by myself on Final Fantasy VII stuff, but I get that other people are in the same boat as Stellar Blade with that. It's like, I'll wait till Rebirth is $60 or $50 or on PC like you. I think there is a big install base, of course, on PC, and people are like, well, I'll just wait to do it on there. But
there's I think you're onto something. I think that it's it's just gotten to a point where you're more picky choosy. I mean, it's just not impulse buy territory. $70 in our economy is not impulse buy territory for the average American.
Yeah, I think that's the underlying thing that we're not an economy podcast. But
60 was pushing it when we were like in a good economy. So then the economy goes down, and that's why the prices go up. But economy goes down, and then they raise it. It's like, ugh, like it's.
I used to buy so much on day one at 60. I really used to buy a ton of games on day 160.
Well, you can do the Best Buy deal and get it for 52, and it's like, hey, this is a steal.
Yes, Best Buy had the Gamers Club, so you could get some deals off. So I always bought more games back then. Amazon had some club thing too, I think, at one point, but
discounted games games discount so fast. It's foolish unless you really want to be part of that first few weeks discourse, which for me, I kind of wanted to for Remake, but I was just kind of busy with other life stuff, and I was like, I'm going to let that all take root because I don't want to be starting it when everybody else is wanting to talk about the ending in a month. So let that whole wave go by, and I'm actually about to go on vacation in a week, and I'm going to buy it. And when I get back from my vacation, I'm off for 4 days, and I'm going to play the crap out of it. So, you know, I don't know. It's just interesting. I was curious your guys' take, and I didn't even think about the Square Enix. You're right. This is better naming convention in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
But like Kingdom Hearts 1 sold great. Kingdom Hearts 2 sells great. When you start throwing in all these other words, and then you have spin-off games that look similar, and you name your DLC intermission and your DLC plus remake,
I can tell you right now, the DLC has got me so jacked up. I don't know if do I play Crisis Core, Intergrade? Which ones? I don't know any of this. I didn't touch any of them. I'm going to go watch a YouTube video before I play Rebirth, because at this point...
It's funny they're just reviving what they did with Dirge of Cerberus, Crisis Core back in the day, the Advent Children. They created kind of this universe around it, and I think that's what they were doing here. They're bringing back Crisis Core. They remade that and stuff, and they're trying to reignite that kind of thing that they had back in the 2000s. But should have called it Remake too. All that aside, I've been playing. I'm at 50 hours on this game. This past week was the birth of my son, and I at the hospital
in the game. It's a long game, but I didn't think you'd have kids.
Well, it's so funny.
Congratulations!
It was funny. It was the birth of my son, but it was the rebirth.
What are you playing?
Final Fantasy VII. It was funny. I'm playing that during this one, but
Rebirth. Rebirth. Yeah. Congratulations, by the way, on the baby.
Thank you.
For real, man.
Thank you. But even more important was Rebirth works great over cloud streaming. No, I'm just kidding. But it does work great on cloud streaming. So that's how I play. At the hospital, we had some downtime. I would pull out the backbone, and I cloud streamed over. So we've had talks for like past 2 years. I think we were like talking about cloud streaming. Stadia was a big topic. You know, some say there was a debate. Some say there wasn't. But there was we've always talked about cloud.
Like 2 years. It was big for 2 years.
Yeah.
And I never really was. I was in such a situation here that I didn't really need a cloud stream. But new son. We've got like I'm trying to be out in we have like a patio area. I want to like be out and about. Let me get into this cloud streaming stuff, and it works incredible now. I am like the biggest cloud streamer. I went from like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I have everything hooked up. I'm old school to I've got the backbone. I'm like, I want the PlayStation Portal. I'm like hungry now for cloud streaming. But I played a lot of that at the hospital. I've played it on my iPad outside in my patio. I've played it upstairs streaming. I've played this game in every certain way to where I just want to brag on like the Switch. I actually want to brag on Nintendo freaking Switch because they have like opened up our minds to like, oh yeah, we want to just play our games everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we want to have the convenience of a Game Boy, but like I want to have like new graphics. And I think it's cloud streaming. Like just let me cloud stream everything. Because it works freaking great. It works amazing. It works just flawless.
I will say the portal is such a cool concept, and I'm surprised you haven't tried to snag one yet, Zach.
I'm going to, but I need to slow my roll. I got too much cloud going on.
Too much cloud going on.
But cloud in the game, which is good. But Final Fantasy Rebirth, I do want to say 50 hours in, I've been waiting to make this statement. I'm making a statement. Hold on, is there a statement thing I can make?
You can just say it. Oh, okay.
That's the statement, Duck. I have been playing games since like 93, 94. I've played so many RPGs. All the Final Fantasy games I've played. Xenogears, Chrono Trigger, some of the best RPGs ever made. PS2 era RPGs, PS1. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm not done with the game yet. Is the best RPG I think I've ever played. I haven't beat it yet, but I'm giving it that high of praise. It is the best RPG I have ever played in my life.
Yeah, I think you're looking at this through rose-colored glasses. I think that's how you say it.
No, you don't say it that way. Nope. No, I'm not. I really I loved Remake, but I wouldn't say it was the best RPG I've ever made.
The best RPG
I've ever played. This game, and I've stopped at certain points because I'm like, this is what this I see moments in this where I'm like, this is better than Final Fantasy X when I was a kid playing this, and that's high regard from me.
That's crazy when you're like early 30s with a kid, and it's like this is exceeding.
And I'm shocked by that. I am shocked. I've had to think about this a lot, but like those moments and memories of the original Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy X or even Xenosaga and Elder Scrolls, like playing those games. But this game is so full of charm and so full of like character moments. There is a point where I really stopped recently and was like, oh my gosh. And Chelsea was watching me, my wife was watching me play, and she started laughing. And she was like, what is this game? But I was like, for me, I had to explain to her. And what had happened is they let you, the party grows. You're like getting new characters in this one. And as you collect these characters, as you're running on the open world, they all are running with you, or they're like on the chocobos with you. To the point where I have also I've collected like a couple more, and we are all on the world map, and it is the funniest looking group of people. But the all of the character designs are 10 out of 10 perfect. They're all distinct, extremely like, you can tell a good character design if you can see a silhouette and go, oh, that's that character, that's that character. Mm-hmm. They're all silhouettes to me. Like you on the open world, and I'm laughing and I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is unbelievable. This is what I dreamed of as a kid. To see all your party members out and you're running around and you're on this adventure taking down this big giant thing. But you are like, there's like a cat. There's a tiny cat running next to you, and like a dog, and like this guy with a gun in his arm. It's ludicrous, but like I'm watching this, I'm like, this is the dream video game. This is what I've always dreamed of, and it's in front of me. And I'm so lucky to have like lived to this point to see this game remade in this way, fully. Like I don't feel like there's anything they skimped on in this game. The music, and Jacob, I think, was it you or no? It was our friend Zach said this recently as well, and I think I'm like easing up to this. It's easily in the top 5 soundtracks of all time of any game. Whereas Remake was really good. But this has, and Chelsea, again, she was cracking up about the party members. Like, what is this game? There's like a cat. There's all this other stuff. She was like, is this in the game too? There was like heavy metal, like scream music. And the next second, it's like jazz. It's like very catchy jazz. And then the next second is just like Final Fantasy X sounding music, like beautiful. I think it's the same composer or somebody that worked on 10's music. And I'm hearing that like, oh. So it's such a blend. It's incredible. I don't know what else to say. The combat feels incredible. I love everything about this game. I think it's my favorite RPG I've ever played. I know I've gushed over for the past 5 minutes, but I just want to say, like, I don't know. I don't get this connected to a game in like, this is like a once in a decade like kind of game. I don't know what.
You got me excited to be diving in soon.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah,
I really do. I really am. I want to play. I'm with you. It just when you say best RPG of all time, I just sit there and like,
I don't use that lightly. I don't listen. This is weeks that it was on my mind.
Like that to me is insane.
That's why I'm excited, is because Zach doesn't say that kind of thing. Yeah, you're not the only one saying that, and you don't really say that kind of thing lightly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when Breath of the Wild exceeded for me my childhood memories of Ocarina of Time, and it was like, there's kind of a new king. Like, this is crazy for adventure
and you have to sit on that and let it boil a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, I agree. It's like, oh, well, I really like Breath of the Wild, but I don't know if it's better than this. It's like, it is. You know what I mean? Or it's you know. So I feel the same. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, very freaking good. 50 hours in. Pretty good.
That's awesome. I'm glad
you're so good that you want to buy a PS5 Pro and replay it.
Yeah, I would. That's how crazy I am. I want the Pro.
No.
So they had the PS5 Pro, their specs that got leaked out, and people are saying, I don't need this freaking thing. And I think even developers have said, like, what are we doing with this thing? So there's no market for it. Nobody's excited about it. But I have one game that I would be interested if it enhances the experience, and that's GTA 6. We've waited probably feels like 15 years since the last.
If you're
It
not
hasn't been
playing
long, but, like,
GTA on a PC, why do you play GTA?
I want to play on a console everything now. I don't play anything on PC anymore. I love the experience of just booting the stuff up and it just works. I don't have to like install all this other stuff and update
I
my
don't ever
drivers.
have that
I'm not
issue.
I'm not updating drivers. I'm done with it. I've retired. I love that for you, Jacob. You're a little PC boy, but I'm a PS5 man and I have to have my PlayStation 5 fix. So if it enhances the GTA experience, I'm interested. But if it doesn't, but I will say it won't be something I get day one, I don't think, unless it's like coincides with that release, because I waited for PS4 Pro for like a year or two before I got that. But it's not a day one for me. But
You got to be careful because they might end up being rare.
mm,
They may not make a bunch of them, sensing
Yeah,
that people aren't that
I don't-
excited.
I think this is a swing and a miss. Honestly, I haven't. I think the PlayStation 5 has probably been a C minus, maybe teetering D category of a whole entire release.
wow. See, I've loved mine, but
See, As a device, as a product in and of itself, I don't feel that way. I feel like it's really well made. I love the controller. I think the UI has some issues, but it's fine. And I think that like the loading and stuff is really cool. The software catalog has put it more like in B territory for me. This generation in general is dragging that down, but I don't see
Yeah.
that as a PlayStation specific problem. I see that as a just gaming. It's weird. There's tons of things that are fun to play, but it just does not have the same magic that last generation had in terms of big releases.
I want to say
yeah,
something.
pound
I've
for
been thinking a
pound.
lot about this too. What you just mentioned. Because all people are like, this generation sucks, whatever. And here's where I have one caveat. After playing Rebirth, I kind of noticed it. You have Elden Ring, you've got Tears of the Kingdom, and you've got Rebirth. And to me, these are the best in each of those like series of games. To me personally, like Elden Ring is the pinnacle of like a From Software like Souls game. You've got freaking Tears of the Kingdom, which I think is one of the best games ever made, but also like the pinnacle, I think, of Zelda. And then you've got Rebirth, which is way better than any of the Final Fantasy games before it in this generation. So like, I'm having a blast this gen, but I will say, and where I think people are feeling weird, is the PS4 had a smorgasbord of that. They had a smorgasbord of more, maybe not the best ever's games, but like more of a smorgasbord of like A's. Like we have like, I think some amazing S pluses.
Yes.
Like a small like handful.
It's a
but,
top
like,
heavy.
The A pluses last gen, it was a smorgasbord, and I think that is maybe what people are feeling personally, because I feel that way.
I agree with you. There's been ultimate refinement this generation, and I agree with your three examples. I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, I've fallen off of it, but I understand.
Yeah.
What I would say is none of those games are surprising.
Sure.
Elden Ring is maybe the most surprising, but I saw it and I said, "Oh, this is going to be Dark Souls times, you know, with Breath of the Wild," and it was that, and it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. But that's probably the most surprising of them. After Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, I mean, it's got some cool mechanics that are different, but and like there are good refinements. But like last gen, it was like we're sitting there and it's like, here's Resident Evil 7, we've reinvented it. Like, here's Death Stranding. You've never seen anything like this, right?
Yeah.
Here's, God of War. It's totally different now.
Yeah.
Here's Horizon Zero Dawn. The Killzone people have made a crazy, cool, mysterious RPG. Like, it was surprises. Like, there were real magnitude jumps in, like, what these companies are going to deal out to us.
I would agree with that, yeah.
And that's missing. And so I agree with what you're saying. That top-end refinement of the stuff we love, I agree. It's there. But, and there's still time. I guess this gen, when did the PS5 release in 2019 or 2020?
2020.
Okay. So you throw out that first half of a year. That's not even a real year. It's been 3 full years. So if you throw out
it was end of 2020. So it was basically
the PS4 came out in 2013. So throw out 2013, 14, 15, 16. By 2017, I should say, we were starting to get those iconic E3s, those iconic games. And we're sitting here and
coming out. I should say coming out. They were announced.
Sony has nothing after Rebirth, and Rebirth is kind of a loner exclusive. They don't make that. Yeah. And I think we're starting to feel Sony has nothing in the hopper. Like Helldivers was a nice surprise. Everything they have from here on out is live service, and it all looks blah.
I'm telling you,
maybe some of it'll surprise me, but it is
live
sad.
service. It's live
it is
service.
Sad.
Live
and
Xbox,
Xbox has they don't have even any Halo or Gears stuff on the horizon. It's just nothing. It's just nothing is coming, and it's crazy to see. So I'm leaning on the Switch 2 right now to come and really blow us away and be exciting. Because other than that, I'll just keep playing my backlog and grab random big release every once in a while, and that's kind of
how my approach has been. And the only reason why I can testify to this is because I'm kind of burnt out on like the current games that are coming out, so nothing's really exciting. There's a couple on PC that are coming out that I'm interested in. But what got my interest was, and I know we're kind of jumping all over the place, but the Fallout TV show came out.
Yeah.
And it got my interest in Fallout again because I was like, oh, this is a really good show. And so I went and I'm starting to play Fallout 4 now. And so like Travis, when you say you're blowing through your backlog, I'm booting up games that I never beat Fallout 4. I liked Fallout 4, but it was just such a big world. And it came out in a weird time where I just didn't have a interest in it. And I missed out on it, and I'm playing it now. I was like, "Oh, this game is actually really good." Like it plays well.
A lot of people go back to that one specifically, probably because it's the most recent.
That or people. 76. I don't know if you saw this, but Fallout 76 had a giant insurgents on their player count because, and that's their lives. That game got crapped on when it first came out, but they've been making updates steadily for it, and then now the TV show is out, and now their player count is booming currently.
Yeah. It's good timing. You guys seem like, did you guys both watch that show?
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it, but I'm gonna watch it.
I'm in episode 4.
Yeah.
I'm in episode 4. I don't know.
I'm in 2. I'm halfway through 2.
Okay, so I'm a little farther than you.
Yeah, you guys can talk about it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'll go no spoilers. Me and my wife are watching it, and man, they nailed the aesthetic. The set design is amazing. You feel like you're in the Fallout world. Like every set is so cool. It just feels like a raggedy post-apocalyptic. It's so fun. The acting's fun. They have Walton Goggins. Is that his name? Walter Goggins. That's the guy who he's in Righteous Gemstones. He's Baby Billy in Righteous Gemstones. He's in what else is he in? I forget.
I don't know either. Yeah,
look him up. But he plays the ghoul in Fallout.
I've seen him all over social media.
Yeah, he's on the promo stuff. But great actor,
Walter Goggins.
Walter Goggins, yeah. Great acting. Very funny. The humor of Fallout comes through that. And this was such an interesting way to do this, because where The Last of Us is a faithful kind of adaptation of those characters that we know and love. Whereas Fallout, you just create your own character and you just kind of choose stuff. So this was a weird one. It's like, how is this going to work? But I think they absolutely killed it. This feels like it's such a perfect medium, like what they did for what they did. And it just feels like how Last of Us kind of took what Last of Us was. Like, hey, we're going to use the power of TV that games can't have access to, and we're going to do that here. And that's what Fallout did. Fallout has these characters you start to get bonded with, and they're funny, and you get to see these, oh yeah, I know that, and there's that enemy, oh shoot, they have all this fun stuff. But at the core of Fallout is moral gray, you know what I mean, and making choices. That's kind of a lot of Bethesda games, but especially Fallout. It's like, do you choose this?
Fallout leans into it more than any other Bethesda game.
Do you choose this or do you choose that? Are you good? Are you evil? You don't know. And this show really does an excellent job at doing that and letting those forces fight with the characters. And how does that work in? And it's been really good. So we're about 4 episodes in, and really freaking loving it. Really freaking loving it. So
yeah, I would say this. Looking back at Fallout as a series, you're right when you say, hey, there's this whole spectrum of people and characters and ideas and creatures that you can pull from it, and you can tell an infinite number of stories. There's lore on a bunch of different vaults. You can go online and read the lore on Vault 111 all the way to Vault 1. And you can find out where the vault was located and why the vault existed or what experiments they did. And all those different types of things. What is cool is you're seeing now the TV show can run at the same time as a video game, and they both can tell a completely different story, and it doesn't mess with anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't screw with anything. There's no parameters in this world, and that's what makes Fallout so interesting, in my opinion. It makes it so grabby why you want to play it. So that's the only reason why I'm very interested. I'm actually going to sit down. I watched the first episode to see if I'd be interested, and then I started watching the second. I was like, I need to stop. I want to watch this with Maya. So I went ahead and stopped and said, I'm going to go ahead and watch this together. Yeah. But I did pick up, that's why I started playing Fallout 4, and I'm actually playing it in VR with mods because it has a VR option. And
nice.
Man, walk around the wasteland in VR is it's different, man. It's different and it's cool. It has that cool charm because, how do I put this? It's so gray and there's no color.
It's brown. I used to call it brown out when I played Fallout 3.
It's so kind of depressing. And I found out actually there's a mod where you can play Fallout New Vegas. Which I don't know if you, Travis, have you ever played any of the Fallout games?
I played Fallout 3.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, I've watched videos about New Vegas and Fallout 4 and even the old Fallouts. I own them all. I want to play through them, but I could say that about a lot of series. But
this series made me want to.
I know what it's all about. Yeah.
This series made me want to get to New Vegas because I skipped that one because at that time when that game came out, Fallout 3 came out. I was excited about it, and this was the time when like BioShock 2. I don't know if this was before or after. It was a different developer.
Yes.
And I was like,
it was Obsidian.
And I was like, I kind of got burnt. So then Vegas was coming out. I was like, that sounds cool. And they're like, oh, it's a different developer. And I was like, but it turned out great. But at the time, you have to know the context of the time. I was kind of burnt out, like kind of burnt by developers building up a game and then sending out these kind of secondary studios. So it turned out good. But.
Yeah. You were saying, Jacob?
So Fallout New Vegas it is actually, for most people, they'll say it's probably the best Fallout experience. Because it introduced a lot of systems that we would see in future games. So it's like that kind of experience. Plus, the characters are hilarious. And the karma system. The karma system is a chef's kiss of an experience. Because you could literally sit there. I'll never forget this moment. If you haven't played it, I'm sorry I'm going to spoil this. So I'm sorry. It's not like a bad spoiler, but it's just a cool little integrate.
Go for it.
There's a guy who stands in front of a grave, and if you shoot the grave, he gets mad at you because you shot his dad's grave, and then you could shoot him, and you just get bad karma because you did something that was just like that was really mean. Like you shoot it. It's his brother's grave, and you shoot it. And he says, "Wait, what are you doing? That's a fallen war soldier or whatever. This is a memorial." And one of the choices is like, you're a bitch, and so is your brother. That's one of the choices you can do. And he which is hilarious.
He wants to fight you afterwards. But
so one of the things I've been gleaning just through like social media and stuff about this show is, it seems like a lot of the characters in the cast, they almost, maybe people are just reading into it, but they almost kind of have very like custom character builds, like to what they're good at, what they're bad at. Like I've seen a lot of people be like, this guy, like you could tell like he has no charisma or whatever, or like, and I was kind of curious, is that true? Like the way they even have the characters, you could almost imagine what their stats are behind the
Zach,
character.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. They each, there's a bit of, that's a good point. Their traits play with the system within Fallout no, we have to be only good, and we can only, like, this is the right thing to do. And then this other person's, like, very evil and very extreme evil. And I love the contrast of that. That's what the most, interesting things in any medium is contrast. And this show is full of that. So,
yeah. Well,
it's a really good time.
I'm excited. I'm probably going to try and check that out. But what I was going to say is, you guys reminded me of something when you're talking about BioShock to BioShock 2, New Vegas out of Fallout 3. I saw a headline, and Jacob, I'm very curious your take on this. So Baldur's Gate, the creators of Baldur's Gate 3, which they did not make the first two. Those were made forever ago by BioWare when they were a good company. Baldur's Gate 3 made by Larian. It has been announced Larian has told Wizards of the Coast, who do like, they own Magic the Gathering and Dungeons & Dragons. They've told them, we are not doing Baldur's Gate 4. So find somebody else, basically. Because obviously, Wizards of the Coast is very eager to make a Baldur's Gate 4 after 3. So Wizards of the Coast has called their bluff, and they have said they are in active talks with other studios to make a Baldur's Gate 4. And there is a lot of talk about this. And it reminded me, I'm glad we were talking about New Vegas. A lot of people's general sentiment was, you can't do it, don't do it, just you can't do it. Now, I won't lie, whoever would do it has a tough bill to pay, right? It's going to be a tough challenge. But the flip side of that is this kind of thing used to happen all the time. Knights of the Republic 1 was made by BioWare, and then BioWare was going to go make Mass Effect, and they gave the assets and the engine to Obsidian, and they made KOTOR 2, which some people like better. Same thing, Fallout New Vegas was Bethesda, and then over to Obsidian. You would see things like this with like BioShock. So I am kind of rooting for some other studio. There's other people that make CRPGs to get their hands on the engine and license it out and make something. Because I hate it when like a company moves on and then it's like no one else can make this and then the series dies. But I was kind of curious, Jacob, your thought on all that. And then part of the rumor was like there may just have some other person, some other company do their own take on it completely, which Wizards of the Coast was like, we want another sequel out soon. There is no way you can re-engineer how you make that game from scratch and release something in 3 years.
And I think that's
absolutely no way.
I think that's the biggest issue. Like, no matter what, let's just establish this truth first. Anyone who gets their hands on the license, we're not seeing that game for 3 years minimum.
Yeah.
So like it's far out. Like, so we can tamper that at least.
I didn't even say it would have to be 3 to 5 years.
Even that's a good window.
The engine, even if they license, because Larian has their own engine, even if they license the engine and they get the assets,
yeah. But I think one of the cool things, and I use that word because I think it's the only way for me to describe this, is that any company who gets this, Baldur's Gate doesn't have to be a linear story. It doesn't have to be a follow-up from the previous story either. D&Ds are very fast, and you could pick anything and pretty much tell a story out of it. The problem is the gameplay was just so good of 3. I think that was the thing that really just is going to suck more or less, is because you built a good engine, you built a great game, you built a phenomenal story. Dang, good luck following that up. Yeah. And they could follow it up. The problem is if you don't have the tools in which they was built upon, that great experience, doesn't matter how good your story is, the gameplay's got to be great.
Yeah.
So I think
do you think they'll just buy the engine? Can they just buy or?
Well, they wouldn't buy. They would have to license it.
Yes, that was the thing.
It depends on two things. Is that something Larian is willing to do? Because it's their proprietary engine. Like all of their Divinity, Original Sin 2. They've been building on this engine for like
forever,
20 years.
Yeah.
So is that something that it would be like Bethesda licensing out their engine like they did for Fallout, right? So that's the question. Number two,
when a baseball player.
But the other point is, I don't know that in their contract with Wizards of the Coast there wasn't an agreement that they get to license the engine as an option if Larian doesn't want to do it, because sometimes that's at play too. Like, so anyway, you were going to say.
What I was going to say, when a baseball player like retires, you know how he like writes books and they have like a pipeline. If you and like sells books and does like signings, and he's like his name has become so big. Baldur's Gate 3 was kind of like their hit, like their hit. You know what I mean? Like they made a bigger name than they've ever made for themselves.
This was their big play.
Because they won like Game of the Years and stuff. So couldn't they say, hey, I see another revenue stream. Let's license out this engine because we have become king of the castle.
Yes.
And they can just license it.
That is the smart thing to do.
That's what I would do if I was them. You've kind of made it.
Yeah.
You're the baseball player.
I think that's what they're trying to do.
Retire.
I think their goal, though, Travis, and again, you can tell me whether or not I'm thinking I'm crazy or not. The reason I said 3 years is because I think they have a live service mentality now in mind. I think that is something that might be in front of them, and so they're like, if we can get out Baldur's Gate Live or something like that out.
Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the
money.
Coast. Wizards of the Coast is probably seeing dollar signs of what if we had a live service and we loaded new campaigns and stuff, which would not work, but I'm sure that's why Larian doesn't want to do another. Also, Larian just had their Knights of the Old Republic moment because Knights of the Old Republic was amazing in 2003.
Yep.
It won Game of the Year awards. It put BioWare on the map in a mainstream console way, and they parlayed that into Mass Effect. And that's what Larian wants to do. They want to go do their Mass Effect. They want to go do their own world, their own
which
IP.
is cool. They go do it. I support what they will do. Phenomenal. I just feel like that Baldur's Gate is setting itself up. Either it's going to be a different story, which we all know that will be maybe a worse engine, or it's going live service model. I already know how I feel about that, so I don't even have to say it.
Yeah. I just think it's so funny when Baldur's Gate came out, people were like, no one else can make a CRPG, which I don't think is true. Like, people will play other games by other people. I think people were hyping that, but I do think it's funny now. It's like it's extended to, and you can't even make another Baldur's Gate because it's so good that you can't make another Baldur's Gate, and you can't make any other.
Good.
I think it's good, but there's other great CRPGs. There's the Pathfinder stuff. I've dug into some of that stuff. There's really cool. They're not as high budget, but grab one of those talented studios. I still think that the dudes that are owned by Microsoft now that did Wasteland 3. Did either of you guys play Wasteland 3?
I did not.
Wasteland 3, Jacob specifically, is amazing. It is an amazing top-down RPG. It's on Xbox. It's on PC. And it came out like 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't know if you guys know this, Fallout, the original Fallout series, was kind of an imitation of Wasteland. It's like a post-nuclear U.S. Wasteland came out before Fallout ever came out. And with Fallout, they were kind of trying to do a Wasteland type game. And so Wasteland never left the top-down world. It always stayed in the top-down world. But like, grab the people that did Wasteland 3 and throw them a budget and work with Microsoft and do Baldur's Gate 4.
It's currently on sale for $8 on Steam.
There you go.
Wasteland 3 is great. That game is fantastic.
Yeah, it has a lot of 9s, 85 on Metacritic, and is very heavily liked.
And that's what I'm saying. There's other people that can do this stuff, you know.
I want to say one last thing on Fallout on the TV show. Because I felt like we talked about this, or at least I had always said, like, because all these video game movies came out and 10 out of 10 of them were bad. You know what I mean? They just were always bad. But the problem always was these games are long. They're long, and they have all these, the arcs are very long. They were never made for a movie medium, but TV was easy, and it took 50 years to finally make Last of Us. They're like, oh, if you make it a longer thing, you know what I mean? All these execs are like, oh, and it's like, I've been saying it, like everyone's been saying that for like 50 years. So I'm happy that it's happening, and I think it's opening up the floodgates, and I can't wait to see what other like properties and stuff that could come out.
Well, aren't we getting a Zelda?
I think they might be doing a movie, but that actually could work. Even Mario and people, that kind of was a success for them. It's like those things are little cutesy things that could do well. Well, because Zelda doesn't really have it needs like 15 episodes to tell its story. Whereas like Fallout, you have that realm, and Last of Us has to be a TV show. It can't be a movie.
I think just realizing that I'm getting older and my opinion of things are getting more negative.
You got to stop being cynical, dude. We live in an amazing time. There's a lot of more crap, but the diamonds are brighter. I think the highs are higher the older you get. At least with the stuff I've seen with gaming and looking around all these games.
You just said Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the greatest RPG of all time. You are on a high right now. You had a kid.
Yeah, I am.
You see life in the greatest version right now.
But at the same time,
no, that's not true. He said Stellar Blade wasn't good.
Yeah, seriously, I'm probably I might be the most cynical person here. Honestly, I'm the most dark and depressing on other stuff in life. But really, when stuff's good, it's like I take a second with Rebirth and go, "Oh my gosh!" I'm sitting there with my son, like Simba, and go, "Like, look at this, dude."
So we're talking about great games and we're talking about bad games. Can I talk about a fine game?
Fine game.
Oh, middle of the road.
Dragon's Dogma 2.
Ooh, a middle of the road game. Okay, let's hear it.
Dragon's Dogma 2. I've put probably 15 hours into it. I'm kind of trying to go back and play it here and there when I get an hour or two. It's just fine. Would
you say it's a double A game? Is it a double A game?
No, it's not. It's maybe. It's
It's okay. I like double A
it's
games.
high.
We need more.
It's like the same A's that like Dark Souls 1 would have been when it came out. Like
Maybe it
it's
has the budget of a
weird.
triple A, but it has the feeling and the
yeah.
after
It's
the
got
crust has
it's
been
got
taken
some
out.
double A bones. It's like I'm trying to think of like a food chain that's like I'll eat that,
Applebee's.
but it's not as popular as Applebee's. It's not like a stalwart. Like I can't think of the right example, but it is like the pizza place that you're not going to rave to anybody about it.
Little Caesars.
But they do some little things that are like, man, that's cool. That's different. I like how they do those mushrooms. They cut them a little different, and I like how they cut them,
That's what it appeared on the outside. This game
It's
is
neat.
not maybe the most.
It's neat. It's
a neat out of 10.
It's a neat out of 10. It's a good way of putting it. It doesn't rise to the level of rad, but it's got way too many cool things to be fine. It's just, it's that 3.5 out of 5 zone for me. I like it enough that I'll keep playing it. I'll probably finish it. And I bet there'll be some things towards the end that are like, wow. But it's just, I think what it is there's shockingly little plot and character and like these pawns that are in your party. I mean, there's some fun emergent things that happen, but they are like nothing. Like they are not human beings. And that's the story. But like, oh, look, there's a ladder, sir. Like they're just saying the same things. And I will also say, I was expecting this to be this big sprawling adventure. And I guess I'm still kind of more just around the main city, but like I'm halfway through the story quests and like, it's like one big main city and like 3 little towns around. And like the towns have like nothing to speak of. Like there's not side quests where it's like, even like I lost my dog. Like there's nothing. It's just like, it's very minimal, like additional things on top of just you're like, it's like if you play D&D with people and mainly it was just combat. That's kind of what it is. It's action based, but it's like, I'm going to go from here to this other town and I know I'm going to get in some fights along the way and I'm going to get stronger and I'm going to buy some new abilities and then I'll talk to somebody and then I'll find out I need to go back where I was and I'm going to fight through them. Like the reward is the combat and building up these abilities. But like the plot is paper thin. It is very minimal. So, I like it. It's cool, but I would not highly recommend it. If somebody was playing it, was really digging it, I could have a conversation with them. Be like, yeah, I really like that. That was cool. But so
cool.
I'm not cynical or over the moon about it. It's just fine.
Seems like it does cool things. It's cool to see things it's doing that no other game is doing right now.
Yeah.
But it sounds like half baked around the edges.
It's like it's like a cake that it's got the coolest looking icing on top.
But once you take a bite,
but there's just and the cake is evenly baked. Like the cake is
it's just not have
but it's
any
too
flavor.
much cake, not enough other flavor and icing. It's just
icing's
a lot
that thick. Maybe
It's dry.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Okay.
It's
dry.
It's a lot of cake, but just like a little bit of icing. It's like I could have used some more. Like maybe you could have done a layer of icing in the middle. Like maybe we could have done some sprinkles. Maybe
You had some
but it's like-
options.
so it's
I'm
like I
with
could
you.
eat this cake, but I could spend the calories on something else.
Yeah.
that might
I'm
be more
thinking
fun,
I'm-
like ice cream with like Reese cups in it and stuff.
Maybe
so.
Final Fantasy VII
Whoa.
Rebirth would have been better
I-
spent on the stories.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I'm feeling. So yeah,
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
Cool.
But I did play another game that I felt a lot better about. That was Neon White, and I beat that game. I mean, I feel like I've not really said much of my thoughts because I'm always just like, it rules. Zach talked about it, but that game rules. That game is amazing. I would say that, I think I said this last month, but that Immortality and Elden Ring is the best top 3 since I've been playing games as an adult. And
Yeah.
even as a kid, I don't think I ever owned more than 1 game a year. So like, it's the best three game punch that I've ever
Yeah.
had in a year. I just played it late, but man, the soundtrack Let me talk a little more in detail. The soundtrack is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it so perfectly goes with this. I mean, it's a first person speed running game. And so there's this forward momentum, and the levels take maybe between 10 and 40 seconds, most of them, to complete. And so it's just like, this drum and bass, and it's just kind of getting you pumping, and it's fun. And it's just like, I would wear headphones sometimes, and you get in like a flow state, and you're just kind of doing all your little moves perfectly. And it's awesome. The characters are fun and goofy, and the dialogue is just snappy enough that like I wasn't like, okay, I don't care, skip past it. But they knew the right balance of like, we're not gonna what are those called, visual novels? We're not gonna visual novel you to death.
Yeah.
Even though it's that kind of a framing.
Yes.
But they don't, and they're funny, and like it's like cringe humor, like kind of.
Yeah, it's cringe humor.
It's like internet, like culture humor. But it does it in a way that's fun, and it's like, okay, this is goofy, and it makes you like, laugh. Like that's just the silliest thing you could have these people saying or doing.
Yeah.
I really like the world. So it's a version of heaven is what I would kind of call it. And it reminded me of a show I love called The Good Place, where it's like, we're in heaven, but then as you go deeper into it, it's like, are we in heaven? Or like, what is this exactly? And there's these weird demons, and there's this weird concept of what God is. And they have this great, like, ominous, like, choir chanting music that comes in whenever you're talking with the angel people. And then there's like these cats that like are angels, and they're like running like basically the HR of heaven, and you're these people that are running around killing demons. So it's great. The gameplay is 10 out of 10, and it's 12 chapters, I think, and each chapter will have like 10 levels in it. Each chapter steadily introduces new gameplay elements where you're always doing something new. I don't think the closest thing I could compare this to was the Talos Principle, which is a puzzle game, but the Talos Principle was
I'll be back. Keep talking.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
The Talos Principle perfectly paced new objects, new things where it stayed fresh, and that's how this one was. It was always staying fresh. It was always staying kind of exciting. So yeah,
that's interesting. I have Talos Principle on my list of games on a notepad because I need something to like get my brain turning, and I love that kind of stuff. So I'm interested in what you're saying a little bit on that one.
I think you'd get addicted to Talos Principle.
I think so.
I know. So good.
I know. I know my brain is.
Yeah.
So I'm 100% with you on that. Anything else you've been kind of dipping your hands in, playing at all?
Yeah, I've been playing a couple indie games. So the first one is Chance of Sinar, which was getting like some Game of the Year type buzz. It was showing up in people's lists last year, but it's like kind of a smaller indie game. Have you seen this?
No, I actually haven't.
Yeah, it's a language game. So you play like a person that wakes up kind of in the desert, or like a desert temple kind of thing, and you're kind of trying to get through this temple, and you see a person and they wave, and then like a symbol pops up, and you don't know what the symbol is.
Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to communicate something to you, and then like other symbols will pop up. And so basically the way the game works is you're going through this temple, and then you're like, oh, I think he's saying, come to me. So if this symbol is the first thing he's saying, and then this symbol, you have a journal, and every symbol that you hear shows up in the journal, and then there's pictures, and then you assign words to what you think the symbol means and try to pair them with the right pictures. And when you get it right, it locks it in. So you're solving puzzles, and you're trying to learn what these different symbols mean and what people are trying to say to you. And then as you get through some of the puzzles, you're in a town, and like I'm in a town, and there's shops, and it's like a symbol, like 2 or 3 symbols, but there's one symbol on all of them. And I'm like, well, maybe this means shop, because it looks like they're selling guitars here and pots here. And so you're kind of slowly, like, it's kind of like a puzzle box. Like you're moving around this town, you're trying to figure out. Yeah. Well, like I was in a place that looked like a garden, and somebody was using that symbol outside of it. And then when I was in it, they had a symbol, and it was like welcome, I think was like the one word, and then the symbol. And I was like, oh, well, this person said this way to here, and then this person is saying that here when I get there. I'm going to put garden. And then it was garden. And then I was able to go back to the other person and realize they were saying that's the way to the garden, basically. Like that's the kind
Okay.
of things you're doing in this game.
So using
And-
context clues to kind of piece together
Yes.
what people are saying throughout the game to let you travel along the path.
Exactly. And it was pretty linear until I got about an hour in, and then it kind of was like you're in a town and there's like 5 different ways you can go. That's
Gotcha.
maybe my only thing about it is because it is you're actively trying to figure out what people are saying game. I kind of put it down for a week and then tried to come back and was like, I don't know what anybody's saying. I don't know what anybody's saying. And like all of the like interactions I was having prior, I don't remember, So there's a couple pages in my book that I can't figure out, and it's one of those games you don't want to look it up because that's the gameplay.
That ruins the game. It ruins it.
Yeah, but so that's really my only thing is I think it's the kind of game that if you're into language and you're into like context clues and kind of like environmental puzzles, it's really cool. But the flip side of all that is that if you're not ready to kind of really sit down and play that game, if you don't want to bring your thinking cap, it's going to
work through it.
Yeah, it's going to be choppy, right? So it's a neat game so far, and I've had some fun with it. But
I think I think those type of games, like for some people, and I'm gonna say this, I don't know if did you ever play a PC game back in the 90s? Like a PC game that wasn't a kid's game?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Yeah.
I know like you can talk about Postal and all that stuff, but there was a very, very tight-knit community that played strategy games on the PC that were point and click, that you pull stuff in and you use it to help you navigate. And I feel like those games have not changed throughout the years and people still play them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you just described to me.
Yeah, this one, I totally see that. I guess those are kind of like point and click adventure games where you're like, let me try the wrench on this thing and see if it works. And then let me write down what's on this clock and go in this other room. Yeah, there's a little bit of spirit of that to this, but this is free form. Like you run around and, it's cool. The aha moments are fun when you're realizing what people are saying. And I do think that this is definitely more on that end of the spectrum in terms of the level of difficulty, but I think it's a cool mechanic when like you realize what you think a word is and you write it down on the symbol and you load it into your journal and it gives you the thumbs up like, yep, that's what that means. You're decoding.
Like that's the winner right there.
Yeah, it's just hard when there's a few pages you haven't figured out and you're like, do I have everything I need to figure this out? Because if I don't have everything I need to figure this out, I don't know what to do. I don't want to look this up, but it's tricky.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do actually know about one of the games you're playing. I actually want to talk about it. Hyper Light Drifter. I need to know. I'm telling you, I think you're loving it.
Yeah, I played it about an hour. This game makes an impression immediately with that opening, and it's got this beautiful pixel art, which I've seen before, kind of in just videos and stuff, but really playing it. It's just beautiful, almost kind of like Attack on Titan-esque giants in the distance. So it made an immediate impression. This is simply like one of those indie games that I've never played that is on every list of like top 10, top 50 indie games you have to play. And I've owned it since like 2018 or 2019. I've had it in my backlog forever. It's just been like Inside was this way for a while. It's like, that's good for a rainy day when I'm like ready to sit down and play it. It's awesome. I'm really liking it. I think it seems like the world is split out into kind of 4 segments. So I went to the first segment and I fought a little mini boss, and I've started now go down in these little like tunnel things where I think I have to do a few iterations of that to kind of formally finish that area. But, it's good. The combat's fun. I like the interplay of, attacking with the sword and then you recharge your bullets. It's like a Bloodborne kind of thing,
Yeah.
But the only thing that I'm trying to get a feel for, and I'm still early, is you will get to a point where I love that it respawns you right in the prior room when you die. That's really nice. But I will get into situations where I'm pretty far down, and it's not the longest level in the world, but I get pretty far down. And I'll be like at 2 health and like no recharges, or like 2 health and 1 health recharge. And it just respawns you repeatedly, like with that amount. And I've had a couple times last night, I was like, I can't I can't beat this room like with that amount of health. So then I'm like, well, what do I do? So I load back out to the main and go back down and try to get back down. And I think that works fine. As I play more, maybe I'll get better at the game and get a better feel for that. But it's a weird thing of like, it would be like if you died in Dark Souls. So like Dark Souls, they were terrible for a long time where like the bonfire would be really far away.
Yeah.
But it would be like your health only recharges at the bonfire back to what you had it at when you rested at it, is the best way to explain it. But I think that's maybe the point. They want you to get good enough at the level so that when you get down to where the little tough room is, you've got full health and 3 recharges. So it's not really a critique. I'm still extremely early, but that's been the only really hiccup that's made me be like, well, I got to backtrack a bunch to try to get back through here and have enough health. And maybe that gets easier as you go along. But I'm like,
I just realized my mic was out, but I was saying I forgot that they did that.
Yeah.
Because I did like the aspect of it that you, when you died, you were in the same room. Because I played that game right when I started playing the Souls games, and that was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Because all the bonfire crap, I was just so sick of at that point with the Souls games I was playing. So that was like, okay, I'm like able to cycle right in. I'm in the same room. Let's go. So, but I forgot they did that. But yeah, I love the soundtrack for that. I love the aesthetics. It's one of my favorite indie games. It's just, it rules. That's a good one.
I think the issue is like people who play that game, you figure it out, like the control schemes, everything really quickly. But then as you progress on it, you're like, I need to do more and more. And you find yourself lagging. I don't know if you've had that happen yet. To where you're in like combat or different things like that. And you're like, my hands aren't moving as fast as my brain.
Yeah, that's the only other thing. And it's relatively easy to just jump right back in. But like, pretty quickly have found myself at a room. I'm stuck there right now. And at an hour in, we're like, it's like 6 birds fly at you as soon as you enter the room. And then like 5 guys come at you. And then 5 more birds come at you. And then 3 guys that shoot lasers come at you. And I'm like, is this going to be like that kind of a game where it reminds me a little bit of Hotline Miami in that way.
Yeah.
You're just like, boom, you're getting assaulted. Boom, there's 80 people. And I mean, it's more dense than that, but like how easily you can die. And it happens so fast that I'm like, okay, you know what? Oh crap, I didn't recharge. I had some recharges, but I didn't use them. I'm still getting a feel for how the timing goes. But I do think that slashing and shooting and going back and forth is a big part of it. So
yeah. I think that's the thing that's going to separate you on this game is like, because you know how I feel about the die and try and like the have to keep redoing it. But with Hyper Light Drifter, the thing that kind of makes it like so neat is it's just based on basically how quick you are. How good are you and how quick are you? And I think what was it? There was a story about the developer. I think
he has a pacemaker.
Yes, he has a pacemaker. And so and basically his whole thing is I think he has like a heart issue.
Yeah.
And when he made this game, like the whole idea is like life comes at you fast. And so like take it as a life lesson. It comes at you fast, you have to react fast.
Yeah.
And it was kind of neat. It's cool. It's cool. It's a cool little thing. I'm glad you're playing it. I was really curious what you think about it because it is a very neat game.
It is. It's cool so far, and it seems like it's going to be a nice 2 hours here, 2 hours there, 8 hours total. Fight the final boss. Call it a day. The only thing that I'll add is we are at a place where like indie games where you play as a little person with a sword is like. And it makes sense. Everybody grew up playing Zelda. And not a lot of companies made Zelda type games in response. So it makes sense that a lot of people have their dream Zelda game in mind. Not to say this is just a Zelda game, but I mean, I played Tunic a couple of years ago and loved it. And I almost wonder, you know, like now that I'm playing this, and I know this came out years before Tunic, it's like, well, I loved Tunic. And I think Tunic has some really cool things, almost like The Witness, where like you're connecting parts of the island and there's these discovery things you make later that you would have never known. I don't know if this game has stuff like that, but just that act of you're running around as the little person with the sword and you're going to the north and to the south and to the east and to the west is like, I feel like a lot of those games have kind of come out. And I think that sometimes the first couple you play are going to be your favorite. And then like after that, it's like, I've done the indie game thing where like I'm trying to figure out the world and I go north and I go south and I go east and I go west and I fight the 4 bosses. And it's not that this game isn't good. It's just, it's interesting to me.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
could see that
saturation.
fatigue.
Yeah, I have a little bit of that fatigue where I'm really liking the game, but I am like, it's not like, wow, this is like my childhood come to life, because unfortunately for this game, I've played like 8 games that do that at this point.
It does it already.
It's really good and I like it and I'm excited to play through it. It's not a negative point. It's just more something I was just thinking about of like, I kind of got to look at this and like what, some of these indie games are trying to emulate, like, am I at a saturation point with some of those things, Like after I finish this one, I'm probably going to be like, even if there's a really highly regarded one that's like, I think that's kind of how you were with Tunic, Zach. You were like, I get it. Like I've done this.
Yeah.
I think the coolest stuff for Tunic is in the back end and the stuff with putting the manual together. And then have you played Tunic, Jacob?
No.
You're building as you go around in the game, you're grabbing pages to a manual, like a Super Nintendo manual.
Okay.
And you're putting the pages together, and as you find new pages, they direct you to new things on the map. And then when you get to the end, there is something that connects all the pages together, and you are going to different pages to find like a secret way to get into a final dungeon. Like it's just the most amazing kind of meta thing that's really cool. Yeah. So it's just. But like the gameplay in that one isn't as good as Hyper Light Drifter, I would say. I'd say the gameplay in Tunic's a little weaker. So
I think when you talk about the separation between indie and like mainstream, I think indie makes it easy for people just to jump in and say, hey, I made a game. And unfortunately, that means that you get stuck in the same styles over and over and over again. So how do you continue to work past it? Like I would call it indie fatigue. Maybe that's what the right way to describe it. Because if I was a developer and I was making a game, you want to portray what you love, but you don't want to do it in a way that like everyone else has done it. But the easiest way to do it.
But some people are hungry for that too. There's a
Yes.
market to do nostalgia and to keep bringing back those ideals, and that's fun too.
Yeah.
It just depends if you're fatigued or not of it. And some of those elements I was, and then other stuff, it's like I can play 4 of those in a row and really have fun, and other people can play a lot of those. But I wanted to jump onto a game I'd played, or a demo, the Stellar Blade demo I mentioned earlier in the podcast. But this is also another PlayStation exclusive, or at least timed exclusive.
Here we go again.
They showed it at one of the recent events or whatever, but it's a hot anime girl with a blade.
I might.
It's a hack and slash. It's a hack and
I
slash.
might pay the $100, get it 3 days early.
The digital deluxe. No, I got the demo because I was like, I don't know about $70, and I beat the demo, and I said, I don't know about $70. It is fun. It is, but the thing because I've been playing fun. Have you ever played like a game and you jump into another game and try to play at the same time, and you're comparing those 2 games or combat systems or whatever?
Yeah.
Rebirth is so snappy and good. This game is actually slower than Rebirth. And I'm like, but this is like a hack and slash. This should be the fastest thing on planet Earth. This should be like a millisecond. I'm like putting a blade into somebody's head. And it feels kind of off at times. Maybe because I'm playing Rebirth, and Rebirth just has a quicker, kind of snappier touch to it. But it feels like Sekiro. You're trying to time like dodges or timing blocks at the right time and getting this parry off, or if you block it at the right time, it kind of sets people off balance, and then you can go in and start chopping at stuff. That's kind of the mechanics of this game. But it's very hack and slashy / Souls-esque. Not all the way, but like you can get fricked up to the point where I turned down the difficulty because I was like, I am not in a state of mind to play another Souls. Like I was like, I cannot die and have to go back to the save point. Is what you have to let you sit down on chairs, and that's your save point at these little rest points. Music's very cool. Graphics are incredible. I think I want to pick this up for like $30. Is what I'm thinking.
So you still want to play it, you just don't want to pay.
I still want to play it. I'm gonna buy it on Black Friday sale. It's like, oh, I remember Stellar Blade. Like I'll play through that. So there's some cool stuff. There's like a gun you get later in the thing that like in the game that's not in the demo, and they were showing it. This ended in the weirdest way I've ever seen a demo end though. I beat like this boss that ends the demo, and immediately on the boss it goes to a sizzle reel, like showing you what else is in the game. Like it doesn't even give you a second to like what's out in the distance and then cut to the sizzle reel. It just
No,
like
they just straight throw you out.
it was kind
there.
of jarring, but no, it's the only thing. It's like I felt like Rebirth actually has a better combat system. I don't know if I'm too up the Rebirth butthole, but
Yeah,
I'm
you're,
sure.
You're,
I'm
you're
sure
pretty
it
up there.
does. I'm sure it does. I mean, Rebirth is a really refined. I think Rebirth has probably the best character action RPG combat.
It is pretty good.
yeah,
I agree with that. I wanted to jump over to real life
okay.
because the Masters happened, and we heard a lot of clapping as we heard a lot of people who would take shots and all these things. I've been playing an insane amount of golf,
And I'm pretty jealous of you.
and I want to talk about it.
Okay.
I have to get it out. I have to have an outlet for this golf.
You're a bit of a golf head.
Travis, I need to know, how many times have you golfed before?
I think it was every time with us, like 3.
2 times with you guys.
2 times. Zach, you've been a few times. You've been a couple times with your dad, right?
With my grandpa. I used
Your
to
grandpa,
golf quite a
your
bit.
grandpa.
And then I golfed with you guys, of course, but
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you a number, and this number is the number of times I've been golfing this year.
oh shit.
And I want you to tell me whether or not I have a problem.
Okay.
I officially have teed off today, for the 19th time this year.
Okay.
Is 4 months into
That's a
the
lot.
year.
That's a lot.
Is that a lot, Zach?
That's a lot. But that's
you
good.
You work in sales. It's fine.
That's part of sales.
It is actually part of sales, right? I take phone calls while I'm hitting.
My grandpa said something interesting. He was like, because he used to work at kind of a manufacturing plant back in the day, and he always told me, he was like, and it did affect one of my jobs I was at. Like we did do like a tournament kind of thing, like a scramble thing for this company I worked at. But he was like, this aspect of golf is almost integral with you raising up, like getting up into like the corporation or the job and stuff. And my grandpa was very, very good, and that opened up opportunities, or like people knew him and there was connections like there. So it's like, it's weird. Like golf is like an interplay with your actual job.
Yes, it is.
More so than people want to admit, maybe, but that's like an underlying thing. It's like, oh, I don't really like golf. It's like, well, there's people that do, and they're kind of getting closer to what you may want with like.
Yeah.
It's weird the conversations you have, because like you'll be sitting there, or like you're waiting to tee off, and you got a group of guys behind you, and you start talking to them like, hey, how's your day going? How's the shots? And you just start talking and you start having conversations.
Yeah.
It's a socialization sport.
Yeah.
It's also extremely difficult.
Yes.
Golf is hard. Like it is. I will say this past year, including last year, has been the most I have golfed in a long period of time, and I've still have yet to break 100. I don't know, Zach, have you broke 100? Have you shot 100 before? You have? Yeah. That's awesome, actually. That's really cool, because I've yet to break 100. And that's just how hard it is. It's just, it's a difficult sport. Hard, but I want to tell 2 stories just real quick. One, I'm going to brag about our friend Kenny.
Nice.
It was the coolest thing that ever happened for him. We were playing last week, and Kenny just started playing. Yeah. He was actually, we put together a tournament that we're going to run this summer. It was going to be called the Potter's Cup. And Kenny is just now getting involved, and he said, put me on a team where we can just have a good time. And so Zach had a baby, so Zach couldn't do it, unfortunately. He had to bow out. But Kenny's been trying to get warmed up, and he approached a hole where he had a nice drive, because he's starting to figure out his drive, but he can't hit his irons at all. He's at the stage of life in golf where everything he hits, the ball rolls. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about there, Zach, but the ball just rolls. Well, Kenny grabbed an iron, a brand new Nike iron, because Kenny loves Nike, and he takes a swing. It's a second shot on a par 4. He takes a swing and he puts it in the air. And all I see, I'm watching this, and Kenny's hands are in the air, one club in the air, and he's just watching this ball in the air because he hit it in the air, and it smacks the green, and it starts rolling, and it's rolling, and it rolls right into the hole. Kenny gets an eagle.
Ah, that's very hard.
Extremely difficult shot. And you just hear Kenny, you could be 15 holes away, and you hear Kenny screaming, "Oh, I just got an eagle!" And it was one of those people just start clapping, because it was crazy. It was absolutely.
I think I've only had one eagle, I think, my whole
I had my first par this year. I got my first par.
Yeah.
Like that, he got an eagle before I've gotten a birdie.
Yeah.
He hasn't even gotten a birdie yet.
Let me ask this: I've gone with you guys twice, and I had a lot of fun, but I don't know what I'm doing. You guys were pretty good about, hey, try using this one, try using that one. The problem I had was I could not hit the ball consistently. Like I could not make contact consistently.
You have to go to driving ranges and just spend a whole day there, and then spend another weekend there, and
just
get
a couple weekends.
Yeah, a couple sessions. Like just
getting used and accustomed to how things are supposed to feel, and maybe look up YouTube videos and watching how people do certain things. And my grandpa taught me. That's all I know is like.
Travis, you played baseball growing up, didn't you?
No, and I think that's part of the thing is people come at it. Maybe that's a bad thing. Sometimes they come at it trying to swing like they would a baseball bat.
Yeah,
I've gone to Top Golf. I've had enough. Like I know conceptually you're supposed to bring your hips through and then your hands and then your head and this kind of thing. But I was just kind of curious if you go from not doing it at all to trying to get functional, how long does that typically take?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a year in. I will say now, I am now putting the ball in the air 80% of the time.
Oh, that's good.
That is good. I will say last year, I was probably putting the ball it was 50-50 whether or not the ball was getting in the air. I have now hit the point where I expect every shot I hit to go in the air.
That's good.
So it is. And someone just has taken, like Zach has said, I'm really working on my approach. There's a whole ritual in my head. I get out, I grab the club, I swing it a couple times, and I make sure I'm brushing the grass. These are my irons. I'm brushing the grass. Okay, I'm brushing the grass. All right, I'm going to set up now. So then I set my shot up. I get centered. I take a couple more swings. I'm like, okay, I'm still hitting the grass. I'm good. And then I go and I set up and I take my swing. And by that time, if I do all of that, I feel confident that I'm hitting the ball where I want to hit it. Because I've warmed my body up. I'm mentally prepared. The motion set up. Where a lot of people, they just walk up and they just try to smack the ball. And you just don't, that motion doesn't come naturally. It's something that you just don't have prepared. And Travis, you're really tall. So on top of that, because you're taller, your clubs are maybe a little bit shorter. You might find yourself hunched over. That means you have to find what naturally just feels good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'd like to go back out maybe to a driving range before I go back out again. I liked it. It's a fun game. It's a very fun thing to do and get outside. And that's awesome, Jacob. I'm glad you're having fun, and congrats to Kenny on his accomplishment.
Well, I actually witnessed something greater than the eclipse. It happened while we were golfing. Not during the eclipse, but at the same place. I had a friend. We were playing a scramble, and I was with him. And we came up to a par 3. And a par 3 means it's just a really short hole. It's like 170 yards. And we all hit our shots. And what happened is on this par 3, there's a big giant hill with a bunch of rocks, and it comes down, and then there's a wall, and then there's the green. And he hits this shot, and it goes right in the air, and it's just flying right at the pin, but it's just flying, and it looks like it hits the wall. Like, it looks like it just bounces off the hill. I'm like, okay, use my shot. I'm right on the green. We'll putt it in, get a birdie. So we drive down there, and we walk over, and they're like, hey, there's a ball in the hole. What? There's a ball in the hole. Okay, what's the ball? It's a top flight. And my partner pops up. He's like, I hit a top flight. And he's like, no, you didn't. He said, what number is it? It's number 3. I hit a number 3 ball. And we walk over. He got a hole in one.
Jeez.
He hit a hole in one.
I had to go out with you, Jacob.
So we start losing our mind because, like, so I think something happened. And I'm going to tell you what I think happened, Zach, and I want you to tell me whether or not you agree with me. I swear to you, he killed the ball. It went flying. But I think what happened was he hit the hill. And while we were driving, because we couldn't see the ball worked its way down and hit the ground and rolled in the hole.
It could happen.
Because
anything can happen on the greens.
Yeah, it was insane. We lost our minds. It was so cool. So I've never seen a hole in one before. I've never, ever seen it. It was the coolest experience ever.
That is cool. Cool.
So, a lot of golf.
As we wrap up, we have other stuff to talk about. Can I request something? Because as a new father, there is a bedtime approaching for my son. Can we speed run the final discussions we want to give to the people?
Yes, this is the best thing probably to ever happen to this podcast that we
Yeah,
actually
okay.
have
speed
to
run.
end.
The
Speed
father-
run.
We have entered Father Speed Run. Okay,
Yeah.
first, I finished up The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Lived, Rick and Michonne, and I finished up Curb. Walking Dead, amazing for a longtime fan. You will enjoy it. I teared up. Good time. Good finale. Boom. Terry O'Quinn's in it from Lost. You'd like that, Travis. Curb made me laugh so hard. My wife said, "Sounds like you really enjoyed the Curb finale." She was like upstairs and she just heard me dying laughing. So
She's upstairs
Curb
taking care
finale.
of your baby, and she's usually
well, that was
laughing.
before the baby.
Oh.
When I watched Curb.
Okay.
But she heard me laughing, giggling like a little girl down here, and it was very good, very funny finale. I've been watching The Simpsons for the first time. Me and my wife. I've never watched The Simpsons like through, so we're just watching it. Very freaking funny. We're laughing a lot. having a
Oh, we'll
good
have to
time.
talk about that more. But
Yeah,
go on,
we
keep
will.
going.
We're in season 2, having a good time.
Okay.
Boom. There's my TV. There's my Father Speed Run.
I'm gonna save. I had a TV show, but I'm gonna save it because I'm almost through a big arc, and I'll talk about
Okay.
it next month.
Um,
It's a tease.
Mo-
tease
that's
for
awesome.
next month.
Movies.
I watched
Um,
Moneyball with Brad Pitt. It's a story about how baseball just sucks. And I'm just telling you right now, I hate baseball. The market's terrible. If anyone's listening to this podcast on sports, it's the worst possible cap situation in any sport ever. The rich teams stay rich and the poor teams stay poor. Moneyball is a great movie. You should go watch it. 10 out of 10.
Awesome.
Zach, is this the first time we've done a podcast you didn't watch a movie?
It might be.
Maybe. I've been in TV
I'm
land.
astounded. Okay. It probably has happened before. Okay, I watched 2 movies I won't talk a lot about, and then I did watch one that I do want to do a little bit of a spiel, but it doesn't have to be super long. I watched Goldeneye. Our Bond marathon has made it through like 20 whatever movies. Watch Goldeneye. That movie rules. It lives up to all my childhood memories. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's probably a perfect James Bond movie. If you never watch a James Bond movie, go watch Goldeneye. If you like that one, it's a great starting point.
They made
I
a
also
game over it,
watched-
so it's got to be good.
They had a slightly, little successful game put
Yeah.
together for it too. Kiki's Delivery Service. I've never seen a Studio Ghibli or Ghibli. I guess
Ghibli,
it's
I think.
Ghibli. I've never seen any of their movies ever.
This is your first?
And this is my first.
Oh, okay.
My brother and my siblings, they wanted to get together. They had been watching through all of them, and I was like, I'd love to watch one of them, and they had not seen that one. So we
Okay.
watched it. Beautiful movie.
Yep.
Very heartwarming. 90 minutes. Perfect. I love a nice short. It was like an hour and 20 minutes. Nice short movie. So I'm definitely going to be a bit more on a Studio Ghibli kick. I think I'm going to watch some more of those.
Cool.
The last movie I watched, movie of the month, movie of the year so far.
Yeah.
Who's to say? My wife and I went. We saw Civil War. We went and saw Civil War. Now, have you guys heard? I'm sure you've heard about this movie.
I've heard some mixed opinions.
Avengers?
What's what is your feel of the movie from just what you've heard?
It seemed like a bad idea at first, but I got more excited as it got along. I was like, because some people were saying this is very interesting, it's a very good movie, and other people were like they hated it. But I like that. It seems like an
Yeah.
interesting concept to play around in.
Yeah, I am here to tell you right now, this movie absolutely ruled. It
Cool.
was the best. It reminded me of a little bit of 1912, a little bit of Saving Private Ryan. It is a brutal movie. It is a absolutely brutal movie. But basically, I didn't really know this going in, but it's not really about the armies. It's not really about the president. It's not really about which side you're on. You don't even really get a great sense of which states are doing what. They do call a couple specific states out, kind of roughly. It's not about the plot of the Civil War. That's not what it's about. It is about the devastation that war brings to people, to humanity, to societies. And the movie is a group of journalists, like 4 journalists, and they're kind of all at different points in their career. And they start in New York City, and a couple of them make a decision, and a couple of them tag along that they want to go to Washington, D.C. in the lead up to like the culmination of this civil war.
Nice.
And it is a road trip. It reminded me of The Last of Us in a lot of ways also, where you get these vignettes. It's these different places they go. It reminds me of like The Last of Us meets All Gas No Brakes, or like that guy.
Yeah,
that we,
okay.
You know, and they're photojournalists, so they take pictures. And this movie took my breath away multiple times. It is brutal. It's devastating. It's really funny at times. It's got great humanity to it. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. The people that seem to hate it the most seem to be people that were mad it wasn't more political.
Yeah.
They felt like it was, you know, not taking sides. This movie's not about our America.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not. Like, so it's about a version of an America that got so bad it went to civil war. But like, it's plenty political because it's in a lot of ways an anti-war movie. It's also in a lot of ways kind of a movie about how you lose your humanity. It doesn't matter if you're the one fighting, you're the one staying out of it, you're the one taking pictures of it, you're the one, you know, trying to run a refugee camp. If you're involved at all, you lose your humanity.
Yeah.
And it's just a phenomenal movie. So I can't recommend it highly enough. I loved it. So that's where I'm at on that. And I think
That's
that's everything we
but
had.
on war, you know what I think about war?
Yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of the message.
That was the theme. You basically just saw Civil War.
Yeah.
That was it.
It is.
Cool. I do wanna-
It is
I do wanna
absolutely
see
worth
that.
seeing, though. It is absolutely
I will
worth
check
seeing.
it
That's
out.
awesome.
I will watch that. Well, I think that has been the first Daddy podcast, is what I'm going to call it. This
The
version.
daddy
dad-
cast.
I'm in my daddy era.
Oh my God.
Are we gonna become the
So-
Dwee Daddies?
The Dwee
We
daddies.
daddies. Daddy bros.
I'm out on
Um,
that.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching. This has been the first Daddy era. I'm entering my Daddy era. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're having
Loving it
fun.
so far.
Good.
Make sure you follow us on TikTok.
Yes.
Subscribe. You haven't subscribed to YouTube yet. What are you doing? Subscribe
doing?
already. Hit the like button. Let us know what you think of today's cast. Even though it's on virtual, and even though we're part of, we got a dad that hands it. We got to feed the kid. We got a kid to feed. So
Yeah.
subscribe. Help us out. It would mean
Definitely.
a lot to us.
For sure. But thank you guys for watching. Yeah, check us out, DweeBros on Twitter /X/Elon Musk Little Daddy Pod on the website. Check it out.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys
care.
for
Have a good one.
watching. Daddy out.